Sawadee Khan, very good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Nabunag.
And I'm Hatay Shakit Tiranan, and kicking off the program today, semi-lockdown measures have begun today in Bangkok and 5 surrounding provinces for the next 2 weeks. The nighttime curfew starts tonight in Bangkok and 9 other provinces from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. So make sure you stay indoors and avoid gatherings. And the stay-at-home order and ban on gatherings of 5 people or more is for Bangkok, 5 nearby provinces, namely Nonthaburi, Pathum Thani, Nakhon Pathom, Samut Prakan, Samut Sakhon, and 4 deep south provinces, which are Songkhla, Yala, Pattani, and Narathiwat. Meanwhile, more measures have been imposed in Bangkok and the 5 surrounding provinces, and these include partial closures of malls with only certain parts like supermarkets, pharmacies, and mobile phone shops allowed to open until 8 p.m. Eateries, both inside the malls and outside, can only open until 8 p.m. for delivery services and takeaway, and dining in is banned. Public parks and convenience stores can open until 8 p.m., so make sure you have everything you need and that you get home in time tonight, as BTS, MRT, and public buses in Bangkok will stop running at 9 p.m. and will reopen at 5 a.m. the following day. All schools in these provinces have to close, also with only online classes conducted instead. However, schools in some other provinces not in the list have also decided to close over COVID-19 concerns. Chiang Mai, for example, has ordered all schools to close between July 13 and 31st, and that the teachers and the students are not allowed to leave the province in the meantime. And as we know that the semi-lockdown measures implemented starting today are to curb the rising COVID cases, which are predicted to reach 10,000 cases a day this week, it is not yet that level today, also because of the limited tests conducted, as Thailand recorded 8,656 new COVID-19 infections, raising the total since April to 316,000, while 80 more people died from the disease, raising the death toll only in the latest outbreak to 2,697. However, 3,687 people have recovered from the infection.
And now let's talk about the issue of COVID-19 vaccines. Many people have already been inoculated against the virus with Sinovac vaccines, but there have been many questions about the efficacy of the Sinovac vaccine, especially against the Delta variant. And many of the medical experts have been saying that Sinovac is not going to protect people from the Delta variant. Recently, the National Communicable Disease Committee, or the NCDC, approved the use of AstraZeneca vaccine as a second dose for people who have already received their first dose of the Sinovac vaccine, with an interval of 3 to 4 weeks between the doses. Public Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul, in his capacity as the chair of the NCDC meeting, also said that the AstraZeneca vaccine will also be used as a third booster shot for medical personnel, the majority of whom have been inoculated with Sinovac. The move comes after several medics and others fully inoculated with Sinovac were still infected by the virus, which causes COVID-19. Expert medical findings that the Chinese vaccine is ineffective against the Delta variant and calls for the mRNA booster shots for medics who are most at risk of infection. The CCSA said on Friday that the Pfizer vaccine donated by the U.S. government will be administered to medics as third shots for diplomats and others in vulnerable groups, such as the elderly and those with any of the 7 specified diseases, as soon as it arrives. Anutin also said the ministry aims to inoculate up to 1 million people aged 60 and over within 2 weeks, as the vaccination rate among the elderly population remains very low. So far, Thailand has administered about 12.5 million doses of vaccine to date, with over 3.2 million people having received 2. It is not immediately known when the new mixed vaccination policy will take effect. And another question for many of us who have been inoculated with both doses of the Sinovac vaccine, what are we supposed to do after this? Do we still need the AstraZeneca vaccine as the third shot or not? If especially those who are not medics like us.
Right, exactly. The question remains, but of course, medics are the prioritized group, and that is for sure that they will get the third dose. And for a lot of people, they still haven't even got the first dose, let alone the third. So we'll have to wait and see. And as the demand for AstraZeneca is rising now with the government decisions, there has also been supply. Thankfully, Thailand has received 1.05 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine donated by the Japanese government today amid difficulties in local production of the vaccine by the Thai firm Siam Bioscience, which is now expected to deliver about half or more than half of the scheduled amount over the coming months. Still in home isolation, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha hosted the handover ceremony via teleconference today with Public Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul and Japanese Ambassador to Thailand Kazuya Nishida physically present. The ambassador said on behalf of Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga that Japan hopes this donation will help Thailand's vaccination campaign. Up to 1,053,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine produced in Japan were delivered on Friday after the contract was signed on June 29th. According to that contract, the Thai government is not allowed to use the vaccine for military purposes or giving it to other countries, agencies, or any individuals without Japan's permission. Most Thai medical personnel have been fully inoculated with China's Sinovac vaccine amid the slow local rollout of AstraZeneca, but some have still contracted COVID-19. As some medical findings indicate that the Sinovac vaccine is ineffective against the highly contagious Delta variant, calls have been made to give medics a third booster shot using mRNA vaccines. So far, Thailand had received 6 million doses as of early July, with AstraZeneca fulfilling its June quota. However, according to the National Vaccine Institute, about 5 to 6 million doses are expected to be delivered per month thereon, as opposed to the 10 million doses a month until November as initially planned. Meanwhile, Siam Bioscience began exporting to other Asian countries this month. And according to NVI Director Dr. Nakorn Premsi, the Thai firm has the capacity to produce about 16 million doses in July and August, and the Thai government's AstraZeneca purchase contract does not specify the amounts to be delivered each month, which means that even if we get less or half of the amount planned, we can get more in later months. And this lack of AstraZeneca vaccine at the moment has led to more orders for China's Sinovac, with 14.5 million doses received to date.
And in light of the COVID-19 situation, as we mentioned, that even though people are inoculated against COVID-19 with the Sinovac vaccines, it doesn't mean that you will not be infected. And there have been many cases where medics were still infected with COVID-19 despite being fully inoculated. So far, 880 medical personnel, that includes nurses and assistant nurses, were infected with COVID-19 from the beginning of the latest outbreak in April until last Friday. And of these, 7 medics have died. This includes 618 of them who already received 2 doses of Sinovac vaccines. According to Dr. Sopon Iamsirithawon, Deputy Director General of the Disease Control Department, over 97% of Thailand's 700,000 medics are fully inoculated. Adding that of the 7 deaths, 5 of them were not vaccinated. 1 had received just 1 Sinovac dose and the other had received 2. He noted that most of the infected medics were among those who were fully inoculated, with the exception of only 173 who are not vaccinated. Immunology, virology, and infectious disease experts have concluded that the level of antibodies in those inoculated with 2 doses of Sinovac vaccine will reduce substantially over the period following the second dose, and hence the need for a booster shot for frontline medics. Regarding the recent death of a nurse from COVID-19, as reported on social media, he said that the nurse received the second Sinovac dose in May, and she might have contracted the virus in the course of her duty looking after COVID-19 patients, adding that she also had weight problems, which could also be a risk factor regarding the severity of the symptom. Apart from the medics, Dr. Supakit Sirilak, Director General of the Medical Sciences Department, has revealed that 7 people from construction worker housing facilities in Bangkok have been infected with both the Alpha and Delta variants of the coronavirus, sparking fears that another hybrid variant might come up. Luckily, the cases are not yet severe.
Right, and Thailand is not the only country. There have been some reports emerging recently as well that infections, people who got infected actually got both variants mixed in them as well. So this is a new development that we have to watch out for. And still staying on the infections, 3 more Phuket sandbox tourists have been found infected with COVID-19. Who arrived on Thailand's resort of Phuket under a sandbox schemes have been infected, according to local health authorities. Phuket's provincial health office reported yesterday that the newly infected tourists came from Myanmar, South Africa, and Switzerland. The infected Myanmar tourist is the mother of 2 previously infected children, aged 8 and 9, who tested positive on Sunday, while 2 other tourists tested positive during a second swab test after staying on Phuket. All of them have been sent to hospitals for treatment. About 4,000 foreign tourists arrived in Phuket between July 1st and 10. 6 of them have been found to be infected with COVID-19. The first was the one who traveled from the United Arab Emirates and tested positive on arrival. Phuket authorities had already decided to tighten travel restrictions on people arriving from 10 maximum control and restricted, or we know it as the dark red zone, and the 24 maximum control zone, or the red zone provinces, from last Thursday until the end of the month to control the spread. Under the new restrictions, everyone arriving on Phuket from those zones are required to be fully inoculated or have had 1 dose of AstraZeneca vaccine administered at least 14 days before their arrival by land, sea, or air. They must also have undergone a RT-PCR or Rapid Antigen Test not more than 7 days before their arrival. Phuket has been open to certain foreign arrivals who are fully inoculated since July 1st under the sandbox scheme. They are required to stay on the island for 14 days at least before being allowed to travel to other parts of the country.
And speaking of the rapid antigen tests here, there are free rapid antigen tests began today at 3 new facilities in Bangkok, which is jointly operated by 3 organizations, which is the National Health Security Office, or the NHSO, the Institute for Urban Disease Control and Prevention, and the Faculty of Medical Technology of Mahidol University, with the 4th to be open this Wednesday. So all of this, they will have a combined capacity to test around 10,000 to 12,000 people a day. The other testing facilities have been operated by Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, or the BMA, to date. The 3 testing facilities open today are at the Royal Thai Air Force's Thupatemi Stadium in the Lamluka district of Pathum Thani, the Rajamankala Stadium in Bangkapi district, and on the 5th floor of the car parking lot of Building B inside the government complex in Jangwatana area. The first 2 facilities have set a target to test up to 3,000 people per day each, and the tests will be conducted by officials of the NHSO, while the 3rd, operated by the Faculty of Medical Technology, will initially conduct 500 cases a day before increasing to 3,000. The 4th facility, to be located at a soccer field of the Anti-Aircraft Artillery Division headquarters at Giet Gai in Bangkok's Dusit district, will provide a free testing service on Wednesday, with a set target of 3,000 tests. In addition, the NHSO plans to expand the testing service at community clinics to ease congestion at the testing centers. The NHSO Secretary General Dr. Jadet Thamatat Ari said that people who test positive for COVID-19 to be confirmed by a RT-PCR test will be treated in home isolation or community isolation in the case where their homes are not appropriate or ready for home isolation, adding that such patients will be monitored and kept in contact with health officials on a daily basis. He said that patients will be provided with a thermometer and an oximeter to measure their body temperature and oxygen level, as well as the Pha Thalai Jon Thai traditional herbal medicine and 3 meals a day, so those in home isolation don't need to go out. In case the condition of the patient worsens, the community clinics will have them sent to a hospital, but if there are no empty hospital beds available, the patients will remain at home while waiting and will be given antiviral tablets until they can be admitted. Noting that 80% of those infected are asymptomatic or mild cases, Dr. Jadet said that the 204 community clinics in Bangkok are each capable of looking after 200 patients, adding that through these health facilities, the problem of hospital bed shortages will be eased to enable them to accommodate severe and moderate cases. He also said that patients who want to return to their homes for treatment can contact the NHSO's hotline at 1330. May I repeat, 1330, which is the NHSO's hotline, so that the arrangements can be made to have them taken back home in free transport provided by this authority.
Well, that is good news indeed that we actually seeing a surge of more tests to be conducted and also quite accurate tests. And still on the topic, for those who may not want to maybe wait in line for the free test at these new sites, you can wait a little bit more, probably until next week, where the RPT tests, the test kits might be available at pharmacies. Thailand's National Communicable Disease Committee, or NCDC, is expected to allow people to purchase Rapid Antigen Test kits, or ATK, to self-test for COVID-19 at home. They are expected to be available from pharmacies next week, according to the Public Health Ministry today. Public Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul announced that the NCDC has already approved the use of the kits in 300 hospitals that provide verified RT-PCR tests. 24 brands of the ATKs have been approved by Thailand's Food and Drug Administration. The Disease Control Department will assign provincial communicable disease committees to set the guidelines for their use before the ATKs can be purchased by the public, according to Permanent Secretary of the Public Health Ministry, Dr. Kiatipom Wongrachit, adding that the ministry is speeding up proactive screening in Bangkok, where the ATKs will be used extensively. He also noted 2 issues that need to be addressed. First, the tests are 90% accurate. Secondly, how to manage those who test positive, as hospital beds are now fully occupied. So the solution for now is that home and community isolation will be in use for mild and asymptomatic cases, where health officials will check on the patient twice a day, as well as provide them with thermometers, oxygen meters, and medication. And if tested positive, patients can contact the nearest health clinic for further medical treatment.
So that's definitely good news here with the tests that will be coming up really soon, especially with the rapid antigen test, which is actually good hopes for people who do not want to wait in line for the COVID-19 testing.
Exactly. That is some good news that we might see, though, rising cases. Let's see for the next coming days with all the active screening that we might see more COVID infections in the very near future.
Yep. And
with that, we wraps up tonight's program. Don't forget to catch us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, www.thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates as well as analyses.
Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ